Welcome to the Take Two Teacher Instructional Material Trainings for 6th through 7th grade reading. Today, we will review the following items in this training: Take Two program description, instructional material components, reading focus standards, reading daily overview, reading instruction block, and components of the instructional material. Program description. Take Two for middle school gives 6th and 7th grade students an opportunity to retake the end of grade tests. Prior to the re-administration of the tests, students will be provided 8 days of instruction in reading. The EOG for reading will be re-administered on the second to last day of the program. The instructional materials are as follows. There will be a teacher workbook and a student workbook. The student workbook will include reading daily overview and daily lessons. The teacher's workbook will include reading focus standards, reading daily overview, reading daily schedule breakdown, and daily lessons. Reading focus standards. On your screen, you'll see the reading focus standards for 6th grade. These are also known as the heavily weighted standards. As you will see, the 3 areas that we will focus on in the next 8 days will be reading literature, which 32 to 36% of the test, reading information text, which is 41 to 45% of the test, and language, which is 21 to 25% of the test. In 7th grade, we will have 2 main focuses, which is reading literature, which is 34 to 38% of the test, reading informational text, which is 41 to 45% of the test. Daily overview. The daily overview is broken out like this. So on your screen, you will see a sheet, and this is what you will also see in your instructional material. It breaks out the lesson per day for the duration of the program. So for example, the first day of the program is 614. For 6th grade, we'll be focusing on RL 6.3, which is 32 to 36% of the test, which equates to about 2 to 4 questions on the end of grade. And then the name of that particular unit that we'll be focusing on for that day is Analyzing Character Development. You will also see that for 7th grade as well. So on 614, our focus is RL 7.1. That standard is about 34 to 38% of the test, equating to about 4 to 5 questions on the end of grade test. And that particular unit is called Citing Evidence to Support Inferences. So daily, students will be provided 90 minutes of instruction or an hour and a half. So in reading, we've broken that up into different components. The first component is 15 minutes for introduction. Then we have 15 minutes for modeled instruction, 15 minutes for guided instruction, 10 minutes for guided practice, 20 minutes for Common Core practice, and then 15 minutes to review Common Core practice. Daily lesson. So the first part of the instructional block is 15 minutes for introduction. This is the introduction to the text and other relevant pieces of the lesson. There may be some vocabulary that needs to be reviewed, but this will all be seen in the instructional material and laid out for you as to what should be included in the introduction. The next piece of the lesson is what we're calling model instruction, which will take 15 minutes of the instructional block. Now, this portion of the lesson allows the teacher to teach the concept and allows students to participate it with some guided independence. This is also an opportunity for students to express their thinking, work with partners, but really being guided by the teacher as they are trying to teach this concept and then giving them opportunities to work with that concept. Now, guided instruction again encourages students to participate in this learning. It also gives them an opportunity to work together, to discuss their thinking, for teachers to maybe reteach some things independently as they're hearing it when they're circulating while kids are answering these concepts. Now, guided practice is a little bit different than guided independence, which is Guided practice is really that practice that is independent, making sure that everyone has a firm understanding of the concept. It's not done collaboratively, but it's done independently. Teachers are still able to circulate to make sure that students understand, but this is the final opportunity that students will have to perform this particular standard prior to working independently. So what teachers are doing is circulating to make sure they have a firm understanding of this concept before they move on to independent practice. Common Core practice. Now, this is what we all typically know in it as independent practice. It's called Common Core practice because a lot of times the concept is presented in a way that they would see on an end of grade test, and it's very much aligned to the entire standard. So before a student is able to move on to this Common Core practice, they must have a firm understanding of the concept. So teachers want to definitely make sure that you're clearing up those misconceptions before you move students into this piece, which is very independent and absent of teacher instruction. Now, the final part of this instructional block is reviewing of the Common Core practice, which is one of those key and vital roles of a lesson. You want to make sure that you're understanding how students are thinking and how did they come up with their answers independently. This is an opportunity for you to review with them how they think, how the concept is supposed to be tackled, what were some of the strategies they used to solve these problems. Again, clearing up any misconceptions, but you also want to make sure that students are given an opportunity to express to each other and to you how they formulated their thinking, especially when we feel like it's something that's different than what you've presented, and giving students another opportunity to see another way of thinking when it comes to addressing certain problems and certain ways of thinking. So the independent review is a very important part of the overall instruction. When there's multiple choice, you still want to do that error analysis. So not only looking at the problem and the questions that are correct, but why are the other ones incorrect, especially the one that's closest, because it does have some validity to its choice, but it may not be right, and that might be a great conversation as to why one answer was chosen over another. So that error analysis is very important in this portion of the lesson. So a sample schedule for 7th grade looks like this. You'll see it has the standard at the top and the lesson. It also has the breakup of introduction, modeled instruction, as we just went over in the time, but it has specifically the page numbers. So it tells you exactly what section of your materials to go to find that. A lot of times it tells you exactly what to cover, and even if students are having a hard time, it gives you some samples within that piece as well. You'll also notice in the back of each lesson there are some additional activities. So if time permits, there are some extension activities that involve writing or other ways to express and to develop that particular concept. So if time does permit, I would encourage you to use some of those lessons in the back. If you have any questions about this material or anything covered in this material, please make sure you contact Justine. You can see her information on the screen. We are asking that all lessons are followed explicitly. You will not have to plan lessons. However, you must read the lessons prior to delivering that instruction, and you want to make sure that assessments are corrected prior to the day you're going to review them. You want to make sure that you have all materials necessary in order to facilitate instruction. Although you're not responsible for planning it, we want to make sure that you have a firm understanding of what's being taught that day so that you are able to accurately to convey that to students. Thank you so much.